I don't want to live life anything under 100%. Living life anything under the best is a form of suffering.
He's like, your song was the song that helped me come out as gay, and I listened to it every single morning.
Protect the things that matter to you. Find a partner, explain why those matter to you, and your partner, the one that's right for you, will promote and support the heck out of that. And she does that for me, and I've tried to do that for her.
What incredible counsel.
It is about reinventing yourself all the time and continuing to grow. I think, you know, a lot of people are like, you've changed, and your response should be like, thank you. We tell ourselves our stories of who we are, but that's who we were.
Hey, welcome back to Max Out with Ed Mylett. It is great to have you with us today. And today is a power couple edition of the program, and I cannot think of a more powerful couple to have on the program today. So I'm sure you recognize both these people, but to my right is Brooks Laich from the NHL and from the life change space and all kinds of different spaces we're going to talk about here going forward. And this is Julianne Hough to my left. So thank you both for being here today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, brother.
If this is like 5% as good as the off-camera stuff, this is going to rock.
Yeah, we've been hanging for a while. It's awesome.
We've done like 11 interviews already, just so you know. And we're actually neighbors.
Yes.
It's just we traveled 1,400 miles from our actual homes where we're neighbors to meet each other because we live on a lake up in Idaho together, right across the bay. I could, if I were in better shape, I could swim over to your house, but...
I've actually thought about that. I watched a deer. I was fishing off my dock one day and watched a deer try and cross the lake from our house to your house.
Yes.
He got halfway across. I told Jules about this. He got halfway across, turned around, and he came back. And I was sitting there thinking I was fishing. I was like, I wonder if I could make that swim.
You could do it. We have a buddy up there I'll introduce you named Steve Moak who did it, and he's not in great shape, so I know you could do it. Steve, no offense. And I also saw a moose do it 4 years ago.
Wow.
I watched the damn moose. So
If a moose did it, Brooks would be like, I got this.
Man against moose. It'll be a good race. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And I think you all know this, but their careers sort of speak for themselves. But how many years you play in the NHL? 14?
13, 14, 15, we had a year and a half of lockouts, so however you want to count
Calculate
it.
that
Yeah,
stuff.
03 to 2018, yeah.
That's an unbelievable long career as a professional athlete, great player. But the thing I'm more fascinated with, even than just your career, is all the way that you're able to articulate the tools you've, sort of resourced for yourself to win. And you're able to communicate those things so well. So I want to talk about that today. And then Jules, you've watched her career. She's obviously been successful as an actress, Dancing with the Stars, won that a couple times, been a judge on there. But she's really a tremendously gifted dancer and actress and musician, I guess we call you. I don't know what we call it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
People in the arts, I just love to have an outlet to express myself, and I find that through dance, through music, through entertainment, acting, that's my way of expression.
Yeah, like you're amazing. So, and then combined, they're what I would call a power couple. And so I want to talk today about so many different things, but I want to set the stage because most people watching this know both of you already, but I don't know, how did the two of you actually meet?
Do you want the short story or the long story? Do you want Brooke's story or my story?
I'll give you the short story. She'll tell you the real story.
Do you have different stories?
Yeah, sort of. Okay. She'll give you the details. A buddy of mine ended up doing a movie with her. Thought we were compatible. He'd watch the games on the iPad, and he'd be like, "Hey, you should meet this guy." Oh. And anyway, that's the long story short.
Oh, that is boring.
Yeah, fill it in.
She'll give you the magic behind it.
Okay, I'm all about what you put out in the world comes back to you.
Lesson 1 right here.
So, for me, I had recently been single.
Okay.
People have been trying to set me up on dates for a long time, never worked. And I remember being on a plane and I saw Outsider magazine, and I was like, this is the kind, I want somebody who is outdoors, athletic, healthy, loves family, maybe from the Pacific Northwest or something,
Okay.
and is gonna, dress like this, all that kind of stuff. So that was my first little installment of what you put out in the world.
Okay.
Your language is so important.
Yeah, I agree
and
with
your
that.
beliefs and what you put out into the world will come back. So negative thoughts too.
Yep.
So that was my first experience. I did this movie with Teddy Sears, and Teddy asked are you dating anybody? I said, no, but this is what I'm looking for. And I told him.
You said that. You said, this is my intention.
This is what I'm looking for. It had nothing to do with like what they did, how successful they were. I just was like, I just want somebody who's healthy, loves family, outdoors, all those things. And he goes, I have the perfect guy for you. And so he showed me a picture. I was like, oh, he's very handsome. This is great. And then, you know, and then he tried to set us up, but Brooks never reached out. And so, hang on, let me keep going. Brooks never reached out. And so I was like, so did he say anything? And he's like, no, I don't know. He hasn't, I don't know. And so finally I said, well, why don't you just put us on a text together?
Group text.
So that way he has my number. And
So you kind of pursued it a little bit.
I kind of did, yeah.
Dude, you have one of the hottest women in the world pursuing you, and you don't freaking throw her a text?
It's just we were 3,000 miles away. I was playing hockey in D.C. So Teddy was from D.C. and I met him after a hockey game there. He was just a guy that I ended up meeting. I was like, dude, I like you as a dude. Can I get your number? And we'll stay buddies. He was living out to L.A. because he was pursuing acting, and I was like, we come to LA to play in a couple weeks. Like, let's go for a bite to eat when I come. So I have somebody to eat supper with other than just teammates all the time.
And this is the best part of the story.
And and after that, our relationship grew. He'd come. I'd let him use my house at Christmas. He'd come to DC all the time because his family was there, but he was living out here, and his family didn't always have room for him and his now wife Melissa. Anyway, long story short, we became good buddies. He does this movie with him. He used to try and get me to come to LA after every season.
Okay.
He's like, come to LA, he'd send me pictures of dolphins from his kitchen.
Pretty nice.
And I'm like, dude, I gotta go home. I got nieces, nephews. I gotta go home, see my friends, people. And I was like, what are you gonna do to set me up with some starlet out there like the Juicy Fruit girl? Because that was the only like Hollywood person I knew was this. She was a Juicy Fruit girl. She did a commercial, which is sassy. You should watch this. If you haven't seen it,
I was 19 years old.
Watch this commercial.
I remember that commercial.
Juicy Fruit.
Yeah, and then he said, dude, you're never gonna believe it. I got a movie with the Juicy Fruit girl.
Come on, brother.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what she's talking about manifesting or
Why
putting
was this
things
not
out
part
there.
of your initial story, by the way? This is like the story.
Well,
So that's what I'm saying, what you put out there. So when he saw this Juicy Fruit commercial when he was in, DC, he was like, man, where do I meet a girl like that?
It's so sassy. Have you seen the commercial?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And then sure enough,
It's good.
he married the Juicy Fruit girl.
Sexy.
You got that Juicy Fruit.
And I got
So wait a minute, you're on the text. What happens after the text?
I called her the next day.
Okay.
And you know what? Too many guys stress out about like, oh, what am I going to say? I got home. I was driving. I got home. I was like, I don't have anything planned. I picked up the phone and I dialed it.
Yeah.
Just so that I could be authentic and not have. I was like, hey, what's up? And I think you were driving.
I was driving. I was
she's like, hey.
hi.
I was like, hey, I'm just calling. What's going on? What are you doing? And that's how we started talking. We talked for like 2 hours or something. And I didn't have a plan. I think too many guys try and plan that and try and be cool and suave. I didn't know what I was doing. I called her. We vibed it. We talked about Coeur d'Alene. I was like, wow, this big city. What I see as a big city girl loves lakes, loves outdoor life, loves hiking, swimming, like lake life. I'm like, wow, that really at the start of our relationship perked my interest enough for me to call again. We started FaceTiming, and then 6-7 weeks later, she came out to DC to visit. The first time we actually met was at the airport.
Wow.
He picked me up.
I picked her up at the airport. She came to visit.
And then how long from there to the wedding day in Coeur d'Alene?
Almost was 3.5.
3.5,
Perfect.
yeah. A year and a half till we got engaged. We got engaged at our house in Coeur d'Alene, right on the balcony. And then we got married 2 years later in Coeur d'Alene.
That's so awesome.
So, and Teddy was a groomsman for me.
That's so cool. And you got the Juicy Fruit girl, brother.
Yeah.
And you got the outdoor whatever he is. That's so hot. That's so cool.
It's so funny though. It's just a weird.
So that's how you came together. Now, what's interesting to me, because one of the things I enjoy about our conversations is all of the lessons both of you learn. Like, there are a lot of people who do things really well in life, but they're not conscious of it, or they don't like articulate it very well. And I think our childhoods shape us to some extent, right? Like we're either overcoming it or it shapes us or whatever.
Oh,
and so,
100%.
don't you think? And so I wanted everyone just to know you a little better, because we're gonna get into like all this stuff, but like, I know this stuff, but I want them to know some of this stuff. So I grew up in a family that was loving and amazing, but there was some dysfunction in it. There was some anxiety in my upbringing. It's a well-known story. My dad's been sober for years now, but my dad did have an alcohol problem when I was a kid. And I have this theory, because you have them, just so you know. I think that children who come from homes of some anxiety or stress, their eyes are different. I just have this theory. I can see it in most people's eyes, and I can also see it in people's eyes who just come from really good families. It's just interesting, not good or bad, but me and you have the eyes. And my little boys at the group home that I talk about have those eyes. And it's amazing to me when I do these interviews and I can sit across, oftentimes I go, oh, he or she has those eyes. And so your upbringing, we'll talk about in a minute, but I want to start with
I was going to say, that's amazing that you can pick up on that, because without really knowing our backgrounds, that is the truth. I mean, Brooks came from a very, well, he'll explain it, but, and by the way, my family, is amazing, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. And my parents are very loving, very supportive, but they had their own issues, you know, and I think that as a kid, you don't realize that at the time until you get older and you're like, everybody's human.
Everybody's human, and the reason I love this is because you've become so successful, but the story really is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's not everybody's story, but in some sense it is, in the extent that there was some anxiety in your childhood, right? There was stuff that happened that shapes you, and I think a lot of times when I meet really big achievers, I always wonder if they got a lot of their significance as a child by achieving. You know, like, did they link their winning to achieving? Like, the one time my parents weren't arguing, or maybe my dad stopped and said, I'm proud of you, is when I hit a home run, or I brought home an A, or I did great in a dance contest. And so your parents, when you were young, you started dancing really young, but your parents divorced when you were pretty young too, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in Utah. I'm the baby of 5, 3 older sisters, my brother and I. And it's funny that you say that, because I've realized that I'm such a competitor. I mean, that's why we connect as well, because we're competitors. We love to compete. And, you know, there was an ongoing competitive just thought process of getting attention from our dad, from our mom, whatever it was, and to be the best, to be the best sibling, to be the best, to be the most this, the most that, the best this, the best that, and it always had good intention. It was never to hurt anybody, but it was always about being the best. And so even to this day, my struggle is if I'm not winning, I feel like I'm losing. And so that is a constant reminder to me that progress is the actual fulfillment.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And so, you know, like, that was a big thing that I had to actually discover recently. But those things are what drove me, and that basically gave me the ability to compete, to have ambition, to have drive. So I wouldn't, again, trade them for the world.
They happened for you, not to you.
100%.
But isn't it interesting, like, some of the things that, like, make us the most successful, if we're not careful, they're also the things that can cause us some of our greatest pains sometimes. And so you don't want to ever lose your desire for significance, your desire to win and compete. But attaching our worth or our happiness to it can sometimes be an issue, right? So did you and Derek both, I think, when you were little, actually moved away to, like, London when you were young, like really young, right?
We did. So when I was 10 and my brother was almost 13, that was when our parents were getting divorced. And, you know, our older sisters were either getting married or moved to Nashville.
They were that much older, okay.
They were a little bit older. And so, you know, it was an opportunity for us at the time to go to London for a couple months and train in ballroom dancing, since we had, like, this competitive fire in us that apparently these coaches from London saw in us at our studio in Utah. And it would give my parents 3 months to kind of, like, sort out their divorce, and then we would come home. Well, 3 months turned into 5 years for me.
Oh my goodness.
And 8 years for my brother. And so.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
You know, we go big, or we don't go home. So,
whoa! Wow.
So the first little bit, you know, I was 10 years old. I was the most independent, just firecracker you've ever met. Sassy as all hell. Like, I was 7 years old, you know, moving my hips. My parents were like, "What is this?" You know, because I'm a dancer. So, but they embraced it and had me go to this place to explore that rather than tell me no. So I was very grateful for my parents to give me that opportunity. Unfortunately, you know, my mom woke up every day crying and going to sleep crying, because she was like, I'm struggling. My kids are over there. I want them with me, but this is an incredible opportunity for them. And, you know, there were struggles for sure being in London that definitely taught me a lot of lessons that at the time
Gosh,
were
that's such a good
probably
age.
very hard for somebody at 10 years old to go
insane.
through.
It really is.
But you know, like I went from having this like incredibly loving, supportive, just nurturing mother to, you know, Shirley Ballas, who is just this feisty and like very, very tough woman.
Did you say Ballas?
Yes.
Is she related to the dancer Ballas?
Yeah,
Okay.
So Corky and Shirley Ballas and their son Mark, we lived with their family in
Got
London.
it. Okay.
And so when we were there, you know, I was able to go from, you know, one method of teaching a child, which was my mom, and like this nurturer and this lover and cheerleader of like, your poop does not stink.
Right,
Like
Our
you're
mom's great.
amazing.
Right.
Like
Right,
you know,
yeah.
everything is great. To then like my coach, my dance coach, which was like push. And at the time, you know, I'm a teenager, you know, 10 years old, going through my teens, going through all sorts of emotions
Amazing.
and transformation. And, you know, it's not my home, it's not my family, it's
Right.
not my environment, but it taught me, you know, just work ethic, passion, drive, and
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Of course it did.
but then it also switched. You know, there was something that happened between my family and this family that we lived with that I had this sense of proving myself.
Yeah.
I had to be the best. I had to prove myself, and I had to win. So I would go through things that were maybe not a good thing
That's such a...
to, well, you know, I mean, things that maybe weren't necessarily the best for a 13-year-old at the time, but it, to me, it didn't matter because I knew where my end goal was and I kept going. Obviously now, like, I see some things that should have shifted and shouldn't have happened, but I now see the benefits of them.
So that had to, I mean, you're 13-year-old little, I'm picturing the 13-year-old, the 11-year-old little girl over there without her mom, without her dad. I'm assuming in the studio almost every day dancing,
Oh yeah,
right?
studio, school, training, competitions on the weekends.
Tell them about the school visit we just did.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
sitting in cabinets.
So obviously, like, I trained in like my performance, not in my education with like English and spelling and math, definitely not math. And when I was at my school, I wanted, or in London, I wanted to introduce Brooks to our, you know, teachers in the school
Yeah,
how I grew
I
up.
visited the school where she went when she was
And-
at this age.
Because we were competing on the weekends and then, you know, training at night and stuff, I would come in every day, and apparently all the teachers said I was like always sleeping.
Julianne, you used to sleep in our class. You used to sleep over there. Every
Sleep in this little-
freaking teacher.
Every teacher.
teacher.
I was like, I promise I didn't just sleep in the school. But the amazing thing was, my school was like, this girl is really talented. She's working hard. She's got this other life that she's doing. And we see where she's going. We'll help her out.
Amazing.
You know?
There's this interesting emotion when I'm listening to you. I can tell you, just us talking, even though there's a camera here.
Yeah.
There's this part of me that knows that that's what shaped you into being one of the greats in the world at what you do. And so that's wonderful. There's this also the part of me that just wants to hug this little girl that's over there. You know what
Is
I
it
mean?
true?
Yeah, you really feel that.
Well, that's actually what I did.
What do you mean?
I hugged that little girl. When I was 24, I like went through this whole transformation. And by the way, I still hug that little girl to this day, because even though I've worked through a lot of things, she's still there. And she needs to be loved. And so every once in a while, I'll just like think of the little girl, and I'll hug her, and I'll give her the love that maybe she didn't feel at the time, and the worth that she didn't feel. And I give that to her because I am her.
You may have just given my audience, I'm serious, maybe like one of the greatest gifts that anyone's ever given them, because you can all go back and do that. And you and I have been through some similar experiences together, and I did that same thing with the little boy that was me. I've only cried like 2 or 3 times in my life.
Oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
If you want, I can help you.
I know, it's true.
Dude, I never cried in my life until I met my wife.
Now you can't stop.
She told me some of those stories. Like, and now I might not even know what the story is. If she starts crying, I start quivering. I'm like,
But I've been through the same exercise as you, and you can go back and you can go back and give yourself any of the advice you would have given yourself when you were that age. And so let's be real. That's an amazing story, right?
It
and I
is.
think it's by no coincidence, by the way, that God delivered to you Brooks. because I think in your childhood, I would call that a very competitive, achievement-oriented, but I'd also call it, my word for it, I wasn't in it, but in listening to it, not stable.
Not stable, 100%. Before you even said that, I just was thinking it wasn't stable. I didn't have a rock. I didn't have a foundation. I was always floating. And actually one of our first dates before he asked me to be his girlfriend, he said, think of me as this solid pole in the center of your life. And you can be your little butterfly and fly all over, and you'll always be there to land on.
Yeah, I see that. And that's why you ended up being there. That's so obvious. God's amazing, man. Now that's where she was at 13, right? That ain't where you were at 13, right?
No, I had a very different upbringing, but we arrive at the same point in life, so one way isn't better than the other. Mine was very different than hers, though. But her parents right now and step-parents are awesome. Fabulous people, big part of our lives.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Same with my family. Just because your family goes through these transitional periods that aren't wonderful for your kid doesn't mean you come from a bad family. I come from an amazing family. And it's even just like you. I know the emotion of talking about it because I know how amazing my dad is, and I know that he's my best friend, and I know he's been this central positive part of my life too. But it's also is true. It's part of my story that he did drink when I was young, right? So like both of those, it's awkward sometimes, but it's wonderful you're willing to talk about it, and I do too, because there's so many people watching this that either come from some kind of dysfunction or are young people watching this who are in it right now. I have so many young viewers that they're listening and going, my mom and dad are getting a divorce right now, and I feel scared, or my parents are fighting, or my mom drinks too much. There's something in my family I'm ashamed of or I'm embarrassed of, and you're proof that you can turn your life into something magnificent. And so thank you for being able to talk about it.
Thank you for letting us talk about it, because I think, and I know you're going to continue with your story, but about talking about it, I think that when you don't talk about something, it manifests into something that is so much greater and so much harder and so much more hurtful and painful. So by me talking about this isn't something that I haven't talked about with my father, I haven't talked about with my mother, I haven't talked about with every single one of my siblings, I haven't talked about with the family that I lived with in London. And because we were able to talk about it and not be defensive, but just be factual of the events of what happened and take the emotion out of it, that's done. Now that happened, now we can actually just be together.
Great relation, and you have a great relationship with all those people.
Wow. See, you guys, one of the things that's going to happen today, man, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's so good for me to hear, just to be candid with you, because there are some people maybe I haven't talked about all of it with, and I think there's like this power to just being authentic with yourself and with everybody else that's just like freeing. And one of the things going to happen today through the interview is like, I want you following them on social media. It's interesting. Usually have celebrities on your program like, hey, follow them. They're going to put some cool pictures up or some stuff that'll inspire you. And you're going to see that with both of them. But I actually think these two people are a real power couple in the sense that they can also help you in your life. And I think if you follow their journey together over time, you're going to see them both engage in different things and opportunities for you to help shift you and change your life too, and follow them on their journey, because they've got nuggets of just strategy and truths that they've both uncovered, and a lot of it's recent for them that I think can help with you too. So
and your stories will inspire and help us. We help each other.
You heard her. You heard her. So you come from the family, you were telling me, where they were just encouraging. You can do anything. You're great. You're amazing. Is that true?
My mom was like that.
Okay.
God, I mean, that's why I said God bless moms. I mean, I was a professional hockey player. My mom, to this day, still never ever thought I played a bad game. Love you, Mom. Love you so much. Every game I ever played, I was terrible. She loved it. You're so good. I love you, Mom. My dad was sometimes my dad wanted me to be better, and I wanted to be better. So if I scored 3 goals, he's like, yeah, you should have had 4. You should have had this other one. You should have. And I'm like, that's criticism, but you're right. I should have. So there would be games. I mean, there was a game one time I got in the vehicle after my dad. He says, get in the car. We got in the car, we drove 70 miles back home after the game, not a word was said. Get out of the car, I walk in, walk right by my mom. She's like, how was the game? Didn't say a word. Dad walks right by her, how was the game? Didn't say a word. Enough was said. Wow. In that, so Dad, but I was so appreciative because Dad knew I wanted to be better. He never pushed me like, you have to do this, or he was just, he was hard, you were accountable, you were independent, you were accountable. I could tell you some stories about even when I turned pro, the stuff that my dad left to me to decide.
Give me one example.
When I was like I love my dad. Hockey and fishing have been the two things that have really brought us close. We share those. Those are so dear to us. When I was 19, I was I was drafted by the Ottawa Senators when I was 17. You have a 2-year grace period to sign your first professional contract. And the night before the deadline's at 3 p.m. the next day. The night before, my dad's on a fishing trip up north in Saskatchewan. And I talked to him. There's no cell phones back then. This is like 2001. And I'm like, Dad, he calls me from a landline, whatever. I'm like, Dad, they're not even close to the number that my agent says we can get. We wanted, I'll just tell you the numbers, whatever. You can look it up. It's 800,000. They were at 650,000. My agent's saying we can get 800,000. US dollars. I mean, I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm making $100 every 2 weeks. That was my paycheck. $100 every 2 weeks of junior hockey. Anyway, Dad, I'm like, Dad, I don't know what to do. What if they don't come to our number? Can you be around tomorrow? And he goes, I'm like, deadline's at 3. Can I talk to you tomorrow? He goes, no, I'm going fishing. And I'm like, ha! You know, and he's like, I'm going fishing. You make your decision. You be happy with it. I'll call you tomorrow night. You let me know how it went.
That's a wow.
And but that was Dad. It was he was there when you needed. He was there, but he also built me. As I've told Jules this, as much as my parents showed me love, I'm so thankful they taught me independence. And that was one of the biggest moments. It's like, this is your thing. You've earned it. We earned it. I'm only there because of my parents, let's be honest. But he's like, you earned it. You got drafted. You make your decision on the path of your life. And I'll find out from you tomorrow night what happened. And
what happened?
They ended up coming to 775. Yeah. So I was like, I'll take it. I'll take that money. But even for him, he probably didn't give a damn. Like my dad was a principal, did well. But I mean, he the money to him we probably couldn't even fathom. So he's like, either way, you just make your choice. But
so your dad set a high standard for you though, and left you be your own independence and accountability. And what great parenting advice, by the way, your dad handled that. That's good advice for me too, because sometimes I think I probably have a tendency to go, all right, I'll be right there, I'll handle this, you know, and to let you grow and build that muscle for Max. I do, that's awesome.
No, he was hands-on but hands-off. You know, he helped me and was there, drove me to games, taught me. Even to this day, we would talk about hockey games after the game. I'd call him, he's such a reference and a source of knowledge. He's the fairest man I know. I look up to my dad so much. You've talked about how your dad has more integrity than you. I feel like that about my dad, the same. I look up to my dad as a huge role model, and so much of what I do and whatever and is or try to be is stuff that I've seen.
Do you think when you played, I'm interested, Brooks, do you think when you played, like if you did have a good game, I'm curious how the mind works, like you'd have a 2-goal game, whatever, you had a great game. Would the first guy you think of be your dad? Like would you want to tell your dad about a game, like was your dad, was that not the dynamic?
No, it was not so much. No, it wasn't. No, it was just, and honestly, because it was sort of expectation. It was like you were there. We had supper in DC. I scored a goal and an assist, and we had supper after the game with
the family,
with my mom and dad. And Jules goes, this is early in our relationship. She says, "Are we going to celebrate tonight?" I'm like, celebrate what? I mean, they pay me to do this.
I'm like, yeah, but you scored a goal. Come on.
And I'm like, that's why I get paid, is because they expect me to do this. And Dad's like, I like that, because so many teachers expect they should get rewarded for doing this or that. That's what we pay you to do. And so it's a great mindset. It's also, we've worked on trying to celebrate life's little accomplishments.
Yeah.
You know, like that is, she brought that to me, and I'm like, wow, I was goal and assist in the NHL, first star of the night. That's in front of my parents and my wife. That's a pretty cool night. Maybe we should celebrate it a little bit. But to me, it was just business as usual. But that's where Mom come in, and Mom was like excited. And my wife.
But that's like, that transitions into a topic I want to talk to you all about, because I've watched this with you a little bit too, Jules. So I talk about this thing called blissful dissatisfaction. And I think you used to suffer from the reverse. And so tell me if you did. And so what that means is I used to think for years too, like I'll be happy when, once I get that house, or once I sign that contract, or once I get that, I win the Dancing with the Stars, or once I make a certain amount of money, or once I meet that person. So it's like delaying your happiness until an event. And what usually happens for most people is that event never arises, because when you get to that event, then it's the next one. It's the next one. And I used to think, man, if I let myself be happy, I'm going to lose my drive. So somehow, if I'm happy,
I have a whole story about this.
So I really believe that most people think this. They think, man, if I enjoy this, if I'm happy, all of my, because here's what happens. It is a formula that can work short term. So you start going, well, this is part of my recipe. I like denying myself happiness, and that's what creates this drive, but there's no connection to it. You can live in bliss and still be dissatisfied. In other words, dissatisfaction is completely different from happiness. You can be completely happy and still dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction is, I'd like more, I want to compete for better. But that doesn't need to rob you of your happiness. So I always teach people you can live blissfully and still be dissatisfied. It's like eating a piece of steak that's just delicious. You heard me talk about this with Lewis, and I'm just so blissful. I'm not less hungry for the next bite. And so you can live in bliss. And so talk about that part of your story for a second. I want them to hear this from you because it has more credibility coming from you than from me.
No, it has credibility coming from anybody who's been in this situation. I think, again, my drive came from proving myself. My drive came from being the best, but I didn't even know what I wanted. I just needed it to be the best. So, I wanted to be the most successful movie star, and I wanted to be the most successful artist. And fortunately, on Dance with the Stars, I won my first 2 seasons, so I got it, and I proved myself, that whole thing. And what ended up happening was, because I had been basically building my success off of proving myself to these people and everybody else.
Whoever these people are.
Whoever these people are. I got a lot of things, but it was what's next. What's next?
When you would win, would you enjoy it?
I mean, I would celebrate. I would celebrate, but I would be like, okay, what's next? The next day, like
one day, you give yourself one day.
Absolutely. It's that whole mentality of like when you finish something and then you go into the depression, like right after you've just finished this massive project, and then it's like, what do I do now?
Yes.
So it's like one day and then I'm on to the next thing. And fortunately, when I first moved out to Hollywood at 18, like things were aligned and things were happening. And I believe that was because I paid my dues. Like I worked hard, I went through things, I kept going, I believed in myself. And eventually, 24 years old, I went to Tony Robbins seminar. And thought I was one person, and then I was like, holy awareness of all these things that I did not realize. And when I was starting to realize everything, I realized that I was doing it for everyone else, and that I needed validation and approval from everyone but myself, and that I had, I didn't even really know what I valued. And like what I wanted for myself that actually made me happy, it just had to be the best. And I compared myself to everyone, and if I wasn't winning, I was losing. So then I would move to the next thing that I knew that I would be good at. And so it's this whole pattern of like this whole idea of being the best. And if I'm not the best, then I'm a loser.
What was the shift? What did you shift?
The shift was, because I realized I was doing things for everyone else and I wasn't doing them for myself, and that nothing is ever going to be enough if I'm not enough, and I am freaking enough, And so, but this, this was 6 days of Date with Destiny, you know what I'm saying? And like going for it and playing full out and like really just looking at myself and being like, okay, is this the person that I want to be for the rest of my life? And be lost, but kind of successful, but never feeling successful.
Yes.
Or do I want to actually enjoy my life and still be successful, whether it's financially or artistically, and actually enjoy what I'm doing and like celebrate it with people.
Yep. The people watching this, I think by and large, are sort of more achiever types. That's why they're engaged in this. And they are relating to this so deeply right now. I want you to know. We all relate to this, what you're describing right now.
But I will tell you, when all of this happened, I left Date with Destiny and I was like, yes, I have all this like self-worth. I was satisfied. And I lost all of my drive. I did. And it for like a few months, like almost a year, I was like, holy shit, like what am I gonna do? Like at first I was like, babe, I'll just move to DC.
Well, we met the day after she finished this. We met the day after, and then she found love in her life, and she struggled. She told me, she's like, I'm struggling with drive. I'm happy. I'm struggling with drive, and I'm like,
I'm really happy.
Well,
I told her, because you're placing your drive based off somebody. So what if you conquer that person? Where's your drive then?
You got it.
You know?
And so what happens is when we make these changes, it's so important for everybody because I want everyone to live blissfully dissatisfied. But there's something you have to care for in that process. You and I were talking about it off camera.
Yeah.
You still have to protect your own identity during that
That's
time.
the first thing he said to me.
So you actually saw that in her.
I saw that, yeah. Well, she had told me, like, I still fight with her now because I'm like, I don't believe this woman that you were because I never know her. I know her how she is now, and I'm like, I don't believe that was you, but I understand it is.
Yeah.
But that was one of our first date, our very first date. I told her, I was like, because we were both in interesting pockets in our life of creating the life we want, of being single and free and building pillars and foundations of our life. And I said, find the 3, 4, whatever little thing, the things that matter to you the most, and protect those. Put that space out and protect those, and they're yours, because I had been through this before I had met her. About 18 months before I met my now wife, before I met Jules, I called my mom one day and I said, Mom, give it to me straight. Am I a different person now than I was 2 years ago? And she goes, what do you mean? I'm like, just tell me honestly, am I different now? Because I was struggling as a person. And I was like, tell me if I'm different now than 2 years ago. And she goes, well, you don't really call as much. And I'm like, damn it, I knew it. I knew it. Like, I knew it. I had gotten away from my foundation identity as a person. That day I made some massive shifts in my life. That was a big pivot in my life, made massive shifts. And I went quiet, I went silent. I just started building things in my life that I enjoyed. And I started appreciating people for who they were, how they existed, but I was really quiet, and I was working on me and appreciating other people, appreciating other people, and filling in, this is important to me, that's a pillar of my life, that's locked in. Ooh, I found this is important to me, that's a pillar, that's locked in. And then when I met her, and when you meet somebody, they should support those things, but you also have to protect those things. You know, because you're going to meet somebody, they're going to encroach in you, they're going to influence you a little bit. She's the biggest influence in my life. But if she's ever taking away from things, not intentionally,
No,
she would
but
never do it.
But I could.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I need to.
And sometimes I do.
I need to protect. Like when I was playing, if she wanted to go out and watch this concert, and I'm like, I got to play tomorrow. I need rest. Like I might need to protect that. And I'm going to sacrifice at times for us, but like protect the things that matter to you. If I can give advice to people, I tell this to all the people, protect the things that matter to you. Find a partner, explain why those matter to you, and your partner, the one that's right for you, will promote and support the heck out of that. And she does that for me, and I've tried to do that for her.
What incredible counsel.
And I agree with you, though. Always happy, never satisfied. That's what I said. So even when I scored a goal and assist, like we talked about, I was happy, but I'm not satisfied because I want to do it again. I want to score 2 goals.
That's right. But some people rob themselves from the happy, the celebration piece. And if you don't celebrate, every time you don't celebrate, there's a part of your brain where it doesn't get a hit.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get that hit that you want, the endorphins and dopamine hitting, the less and less you're inclined to want to do it the next time subconsciously. So you must celebrate it. By the way, when's the last time you heard a professional athlete and a famous actress give you this type of conversation, right? This is why I'm telling you, and I'm telling both of you off camera, it's why you need to be engaged even more than you have been in people's lives, because you can transform. This is gold right here, right?
Well, the next part, by the way, of that whole not feeling like a drive after all this happened, I ended up meeting this man because I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't even know, because all of that was to prove myself. So is that really even what I want to do now? Like to sing and all that stuff. And this man, I think he was maybe 75 years old, ran up to me, by the way, and at first I was like, oh my gosh, tears in his eyes. And he's like, and I get so emotional every time I tell the story, but he said, your song, my Hallelujah song, was the song that helped me come out as gay. That I'm gay, finally, to my family, to everyone, and I listened to it every single morning for 1.5 years on the treadmill, and I lost 60 pounds, and I was finally able to be myself, to be who I am meant to be, because of your song. And at that moment, I was like, and I need everybody to know this, my music has felt like my biggest failure. Because I compared myself and I didn't think that I was I didn't get what I thought I should have. And so I gave up and I went to something else where I knew I was safe and I was going to get my significance in something that I was good at.
Oh my God, for you, babe.
And so I know I cry right now thinking about it. But when he said that, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, my biggest failure was the biggest success in this guy's life.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
And like, I know I'm crying, but
So good.
Like I said, she makes me cry. When she cries, like it
Makes me cry.
My heart beats the same.
and so for me, I was like, wow, like I have so much more impact to give. And this man, if I think of others, of what I can do to help others and to inspire others and to like create something that gives somebody else like this chance to be themselves, to transform, to have their identity, which I just recently found, I have to do this. And so that was a huge shift, and I found my purpose again. And I found more of a purpose rather than just approving myself for my success. And so it's still, you know, it's still an up and down battle and struggle of like, you know, what should I do? Is this the right thing? All that stuff. It's a constant thing that you think about. But when I come back, to that moment, I'm like, okay, that was easy. I just got to get back to that moment every time.
That's true drive. Like that's
Yeah.
You can drive off of hate, which is one type of drive. Conserve, you know, or off of.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I got
But
some
like
tissues.
I love that kind of drive of betterment and of purpose versus spite.
You know,
I'm rarely speechless when we do this. That's unbelievable. What a I have to like compose myself there. When you yes, please. I'm serious.
Tell you,
I tell you, look, it's wet, it's real. It's like
I told you.
But I know, man. But like, what's so amazing about that is what you talk about your greatest failure, but also when you don't. This is what happens when you don't chase the best version of you. It's not just you that you cheat out of all of the benefits of it. It's the people you love. It's the people around you. But it's the people you don't even know. We were talking off camera about the effect being in this could be for you, right? And so it's all the people you don't realize you're not affecting because you didn't chase the best version of you, because you didn't use your natural giftedness to its max out capacity. It's all the other people whose lives you impact. And for some of you, you're like, well, I can't sing like she sings. You have no idea the amazing things, the wonderful gifts you have, that if you'd stop cheating the world out of half-assing those gifts and you maxed out those gifts, the difference you'd be making with your special gifts and other people's lives, people you haven't even met, man, I'm telling you, you'd be after it like you can't believe, because that's who gets cheated when you don't chase the best version of you, when you don't max out your gifts.
so true.
So true. Obviously, you two have an amazing relationship. I'm curious, because you've given some of the keys too to that. Is there a key, Brooks, you would say if people are in a relationship where it's either struggling or they just want to make their relationship better? What makes this work so well?
You know what? The first place I'd go with that is really easy. She said it to me and it triggered the first time she goes, this was early on when we met. She's like, I want the best effing relationship ever.
I said
And
fucking.
I left it. I don't know if you swear on the show or not. I left it off. It adds more. It adds. If I can say the whole word,
I was
trust me.
passionate about it, but
And so say it to the people listening or watching. Say it to your partner, like I want the best, and launch into that word. But it triggered. I was like, you're right. And we were talking before, like I don't want to live life anything under 100%. Like to me, and I told you before, that's suffering. There's greater suffering in the word. Don't get me wrong, there is. But living life anything under the best is a form of suffering. So I try and help people. You try and do it, which I love listening to your stuff, and the stuff you put out in the world affects people and infects and inspires people to elevate the quality of their life. And we do that with our relationship. So even on the way here, man, we were listening to your podcast. We stopped it because
we pausing it and we're
talking about our relationship and about and even after this, we sat in your driveway for like 10 minutes talking about our relationship and stuff because we want the best. Being at 100% and dropping to 75 is not good enough. We want to get back up to 100. But you also have to be transparent. You have to communicate. You have to stand up for what you want. We also have a thing where we say, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. So we'll usually preface this, we have a little kind of code word that we use to, we'll say same team. So like if she says same team to me, that means Brooks, I'm gonna tell you something that might rock your boat a little bit, but we're on the same team, we love each other, and just know that, and then also listen to understand me, don't listen to respond to me. And
we also say like, this is important to me.
Yeah, she's great
I'm
at that.
not gonna just
let it go
be blah and just like tell you all these crazy things. Like,
Yeah.
I can try to gauge what's important and what's not important. This is important to me.
Yeah.
I need to talk to you about
And
this.
clarity, like when she says that, if she just taps, like she did there, taps me, I said, babe, this is important to me. Oh, gotcha. Like you have
instant
me
focus
right
and
now.
presence.
Gotcha. I will do that. But if I'm not a mind reader, I can't read her mind. She can't read my mind. And so I think sometimes people just leave it up to that. And also today we were talking about taking the power in your relationship. So if something isn't going right, or is maybe you're just disconnected a little bit, I'm going to take the responsibility for that.
That it's my job to.
That it's my job, not wait
Yeah.
for them to spark me, or I'm going to take the responsibility for that. Even if it's I'm wanting something from that person, I'm going to take the responsibility. And we talked about that, about both of us wanting to be like that, so that we're never expecting the other person to do it. And this is all, man, I'm a relationship idiot. I never had until I met my wife. I didn't know anything about relationships. She's taught me so much and continues to. She's the leader of our relationship. I learned so much from her.
I'm blown away though. Your 1 year anniversary's this summer, right?
Yeah, but that'll be our 5-year together anniversary.
Yeah, but
so
1 year.
I've never.
marriage,
I just be honest with you. There's so much there. Like, sheesh. Like, this is why I want you two doing more of this. Okay, this is important. Like this, just so you know, this isn't normal. What you're talking about, it's extraordinary. Okay. But what you just said there's like one really simple thing. You set a standard for the relationship. What's interesting is we set standards in our lives for all kinds of different things, but most people don't do that in a relationship. You just kind of go into it and have one.
Yeah.
So that's suffering, man. To me, that's something. We like that's part of the reason why we do open source some of our relationship and share it, is that I've had people talk to me like, thanks to you, I got out of a relationship because I want true love. I want somebody that just rips my world open. And I didn't know if that existed out there. For me, I spent 10 years basically single before I met her. Never, always looking at the stars, wondering, am I ever going to meet somebody that just blew me away? And I never knew if it was for me. I had success, I had fame, I had money. I was like, anything else, wanting a personal life, having like an amazing wife, that's greedy. It's maybe not for me. Life has afforded me so much. Don't know if I'll ever be happy personal life, but asking for that with what I already have is too greedy. And I never knew if I'd be, even though my ultimate destiny, I wanted to be a husband and a father. That's my greatest destiny for me, not athletic or any other achievements or money. It's to be a serving husband and father.
Wow.
And
One of the reasons this has worked is let's just be honest, it's two really good souls have come together. That's one of the reasons this has worked. But also, just what you just said is kind of fascinating to me. Like, people that watch this, you'd think there's this good-looking, wealthy, successful, professional athlete, and you'd think, and this is a dude struggling with trying to find his dream relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like, just so you know, when you watch Instagram, it's one of the things about social media, it's like everyone's life seems perfect all the time. And I love your vulnerability. I love that you're willing to be authentic and real. Like, we got problems too. There's stuff I struggle with. I love that about you. One of the things that I've watched in you, though, and I love one of the things on your Instagram particularly, and we'll talk about how to find you both in a minute, but you and I both, and so do you, but as men, we both share this sort of belief that there is a linkage between our physicality, our bodies, our working out, and this is 100% true for women too. But I'm watching you because of some of the workouts you do are different than what I do as a dude, right? So talk about a little bit about just fitness, working out, energy, health, wellness, all that stuff, how it applies for both of you.
Absolutely.
well, for me, like that's part of, so going back to what I said about foundations, what matters to me in my life? Some of the things, the 3 things that matter to me: proper rest. So I prioritize sleep at night because then I could wake up, I'm ready to go. Then it was health, like nutrition. What I put in my body was important. So then I could train the way I wanted to express and go after my dreams of being a professional hockey player. So those were the things that mattered to me. And now that even though I'm not playing hockey right now, those still matter to me. That's how I express myself. My wife does it through dance, through singing, through acting. That's how she expresses her soul. Mine is through intense physical activity, usually married with human interaction. That's team sports. That's why I have a garage gym in my house so I can have people over. Yesterday, Lewis came over, worked out with me, and then my wife made us a beautiful breakfast afterwards. I mean, life is good, man. Like, isn't that good living? But that's how I express myself. That's when I'm my most alive. That's when I'm my best version, my best husband to my wife. That's when I'm my most creative, my most grateful, my most giving. Like even at the gym I used to work out at before I had a home gym, after I would come out of the gym, there's a dumpster right there, and I started this thing where I was like, every time I see somebody at this dumpster, I'm just in a state of gratitude when I'm my peak state when I'm done working out.
After you work out, yeah.
After I work, during and after my workout, I'm in a peak state, which what we talked about, you're very similar. That's when we're our best versions of ourselves. But I'd see a homeless person at the and I'd say, whatever's the top bill on top of my wallet, I would give to them.
Whatever the top.
Whatever it was. And it was kind of just like a little lottery. Like someday it'd be like,
Right.
if it was $1, I'd try and give them a couple more. But someday it'd be 100, and I'd be like, oh, like it's 100. Someday it'd be a 20 or 50. But
How wonderful.
It was after, and that's when I really realized, wow, this needs to stay in my life. Because I'm my best version. Like if I walked out of the gym, I might not do that to this homeless person before.
Yes.
You know, but this puts me in a different state. This elevates me. Sometimes with my wife, it's meditation.
Yes.
For her, you know, so she can tell you more about that. But that physicality, that's how I express my soul.
Yes.
I need it.
Yes.
And then I can carry on with
And
my
I think one thing about that, I'm that way too. I think most people will find if they'll move their bodies, you're going to find a change of state. So you all know this, but sadness and depression and all these things, we do those emotions. We don't just feel them. They're physical moves. They're hunched over. The breathing's different. Many of you learned these things. And it's wonderful to know it. The difference is, do you apply it? If you start changing your breathing. So you and I change our breathing typically through moving our body and working out, right? That's how we change our state. Our blood gets pumping, our nervous system's kicked in, we get energy. And my business ideas, my best thoughts almost always inevitably come during or post a workout.
Couldn't agree more.
That's just a fact.
We have a midday, by the way, in the office, a midday dance party.
You do, so yours
We
is
do
dance.
we do
I
a
didn't even
midday
think about that for a second.
just dance or music, and we just get up and we jump around. You don't have to be a dancer.
Is Brooks dancing here, or is this
Oh no, this is in our office.
your office?
This is our production company.
Because I
office.
would love to watch that.
But he dances. No, he dances.
I heard that you didn't even train him for the wedding dance, but that's a whole other conversation.
I bought a dance DVD about 6 months before I ever met her. I didn't even know, I didn't know her because I wanted to learn to dance, but
And this is the lesson, by the way, for the gentleman. I was going through the DVD with him because he wanted to learn this dance, and we paused it, and I started teaching him, and he goes, well, he didn't do it like that. I was like,
I'm not good at this relationship stuff.
I was like, and we're done.
That was my last dance lesson.
I was like, my ego came out. I was like, I'm the best dancer in the world. What are you talking about? Just kidding.
Exactly. So but this picture, that's not how he did
It
it.
was a country line dancing, like two-stepping line dancing DVD.
Come on, dude. So you move your body that way. Yours is dance, but I also want to touch on this because I do this too. So you're also big on just quieting your mind too a little bit and doing some meditation too. Just tell them how that served you.
You know, okay, so obviously meditation is really hard, and I want to put it out there. Meditation is hard. I mean, especially in the day and age that we live in when everything is moving fast and we're on our phones and we're thinking about the next big idea and this is happening. I mean, that's what feeds us, so we want to keep going. But sometimes, what I've felt is when you meditate, you get rid of things that you're storing within you that are clear, cluttering up your space. When you let that go, you get all this inspiration and all of this just knowingness of what you need to do and clarity and realization, and it just flows through you. Whether you believe that's God or the divine, whatever you call it, your own intuition, it just goes through you. And when I'm finished with that, I'm like, oh, bam, 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 done, gotta go. And it's so easy. So in fact,
I can tell when she meditates. I can just tell the shift in state.
And in fact, I can resonate what's going on in our relationship, why we feel disconnected, like that. In the past, I'm like, something's wrong. I don't know. I'm not getting your attention, you know, like feeling all like emotional about it. And instead, I'll do like a chakra meditation, go through everyone, and literally at every stage, it will like I will get insight of what is going on. And I'll first be angry, and I'll be like, he's such an asshole, blah 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 blah. Yeah, no. I'm being dramatic. This is for dramatic effect. And then I'll go to the next chakra, which is like, I'm just so hurt by this. And then the next one is like, oh, you know what? This was actually the reason why. He was being a good person, but he just had the wrong intention. And then I'll go up to my heart, oh my gosh, he's so amazing, and he actually just was trying to help. And then might go up to my throat chakra, and I'm like, oh, I just need to tell him. And then I'll come downstairs, I have no emotion attached to it, and I just said, hey babe, I think we're disconnected. This is kind of what I've been feeling. And he goes, oh yeah, I've been feeling that too. But, you know, so it's such a really easy way to get clarity. So, but it is hard. So like to be able to find like a facility, or like there are things online that can guide you through. Like I would suggest that. But I also, can I just tell you one thing? Because I get really excited about this. Okay, so you like to work out, get that energy pumping, you feel really masculine and just like, whoa, like I can do this, you know, like whatever's next.
So like throwing heavy stuff around.
So for women, I believe that and this is something that I'm really exploring and like trying to find like a method or something for women to explore, because there's so much power in this for a woman. I believe that women get scared by the word sexuality. And I think that there's a difference between sensuality and sexuality. I think we project sexuality like we have to be sexual to someone and it's for someone else, but when you're sensual, it's for yourself. And there's this total like sensual love and connection that you get with your own energy. And when you move your body, when you meditate, when you do certain things, when you embrace that power, there is nothing more beautiful than a woman owning her sensuality. And so like from a guy's point, when you do that, like as my wife, when she does, I'm like, that's very sexy. But not like not like tchotchke, just like, you know,
just
sexy.
Very sensually sexual. I'm like
a
why
very
is this desirable?
strong, sexy woman.
What an amazing distinction.
And I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for me to own my sensuality, and because of that, my energy is like a total polarization of his masculine energy that he just did with this like workout, and like he's feeling great, and then this femininity that's just, but it's powerful. Femininity, I think also people think it's like this like soft. You can have a soft feminine energy, and you can have a freaking fiery, powerful feminine energy as well. So this is something that I'm really kind of moving towards to help women embrace that sensuality and fluidity in their body, and own, you know, like girls, we got a lot of power. Wow. Yes, we do.
I'm loving this. Like, I'm sorry, we're gonna go a little longer, guys, because this is too damn good. So we're gonna, I mean, like, honestly, that was so well said. Like, what amazing info. Like, I'm in this space, right? So like, it's kind of rare for me to hear things I've not heard, and like the way you say it and think, like, so good. So
thank you.
Really,
we're just having fun.
Really, and it's so good. You're such an amazing couple. Now, first thing, because I want to get this out now, they know you. This is sort of silly, but like, where do they find you? So Brooks, first, how do they engage? How do they find you? What's the best way to get to you?
Yeah, Instagram across all socials at Brooks Laich.
Okay, but spell like some of them.
My last name is pronounced like L-I-K-E, but spelled L-A-I-C-H. So Brooks L-A-I-C-H. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Brooks Laich.
One of the really unique things about Brooks, and you're going to see Brooks's content evolve, and I think you're going to be able to engage on even different levels with him going forward. But one of the things about Brooks that I think is very unique, and obviously Julianne has this gift in droves, but he's unique in the space as an athlete, so he's got credibility with you, right? He's already achieved, he's already produced peak level results, but he's able to articulate and transfer energy through the camera in a way that's very unique as an athlete. He's a very special guy. And so, and I know you feel really embarrassed by what I'm saying, but it's really true. And so he's a very unique person on social media, that he's got a 14-year career plus of, you know, peak performance achievement. Then he attracts into his life this magnificent woman. And so you want some of what he's got. and he's able to communicate it to you and teach you things. And his videos aren't like, hey, we're fluffing on. There's also tactics and strategies there, so follow him. And then in your case, Jules, where do they find you?
On Instagram, it's at Jules Hough, Hough. My last name is also hard to spell and pronounce. And then on Facebook and Twitter, it's at Julianne Hough.
And they've both got, by the time this comes out too, they both got some really cool things cooking that's coming forward too. So that's why you want to be following them. So this is so good so far. But a couple more questions. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give you one each, but the same thing. I think that if I want to give people a gift that are watching this, it would be if they could have lunch with you. And they could sit down, or they got 10 minutes with you and there weren't cameras around and they could just ask you something, right? So I'll ask you first, Brooks, and then I'll have Jules answer. But if they ask you, hey man, like, I want to make my family proud of me. I want to chase the best version of me. I want to create this business. I want to transform my body. I want a transformation in my life, right? What advice would you give me overall on creating a transformation in my life and chasing the best version of me? What would you tell them?
Honestly, the first thing I'd ask you is, what do you want? When you ask somebody that question, like, Ed, what do you want?
Yep.
You, and people give you a little she, no, you, just you,
Yep.
in your life. And sometimes it takes a while for people to get the courage to get it out.
And to get clear, and
Yeah.
get specific. It's
Yeah,
very
like,
general too much.
Yeah, tell me exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, you want it? Why do you want that? Great. That's what I start in my life. What do I want? Why do I want it? This is what I want. I don't know how. But this is enough for me to then apply my intelligence and my resources and everything to figure out and execute that. But you need to know first, man. You need a target before you can release. If you're pulling a bow, you need somewhere to shoot it before you let it go. So I like asking people that question, what do you want at your core?
Yes.
Don't BS me. I can see through that. If you're taking up 10 minutes, you got 10 minutes of my time, let's go, let's get to it now.
Yeah.
And then everything else is a distraction. Everything that doesn't lead to this exact thing that you just told me is a distraction, even though you might like it. Maybe it's part-time, maybe get rid of it. As Tony says, burn the boats.
Yeah.
You know, like my parents had that conversation with me at the supper table. Like, what if you can't be a hockey player? Like, Dad was a principal. He's like, you should have an education in your back pocket. I'm like, Dad, I'm gonna be a hockey player. And he's like, well, what if you don't? What if you hurt your knee? I rehab it and I become a hockey player. And I burned the boats. I got rid of this is what I want. And I didn't know how, but when I was 14, I didn't know how I was going to make the NHL, but the NHL was already in my hands. I owned it. I owned it. It was mine. My friends that would try and get me to drink or go to parties or smoke, still some of my best friends in my life, they were my groomsmen, but they tried to get me off that path. But I was like, you guys don't even know it. I'm 5 years away from this in the NHL. I'm 14, but I'm 19 in the NHL already. Like, I knew what I wanted. Didn't know how, but I knew what I wanted and I knew why, because it was how I was going to express it, was what I needed to do with my life. So I would try and get that out of a person, and everything else is a distraction.
100%. I posted today, I made a post. I said, the extraordinary are fueled by why, and the average are always stuck with how. And so, and what I find when I ask people that question, it's why I don't do it on the show anymore. I've had too many, even of my own guests, when I go, what do you want? And it's very vague.
Yeah.
It's very vague. Yeah. And so the rarest thing is to ask somebody that question, they can give you a specific, clear, compelling answer.
The other thing, like you posted that today, I posted yesterday, if you're gonna have one thing in your life, you're gonna have one thing, have a magnificent obsession with getting better.
Bingo.
Whatever it is, whatever's you wake up, and that's what I'm doing now. If I'm not in hockey, I'm following the flow of my life. What do I gravitate towards? Because I'm not getting paid for it, but what's my thing that I love? That's telling me where I should be.
That's
and then
correct.
have a magnificent obsession with improving that.
Yes.
And it will find a way to monetize itself. You'll be successful.
It really does, by the way. It really does. And your obsessions...
Move towards your curiosities and your obsessions.
Your obsessions become your possessions. You're going to possess what you're obsessed with. And here's the issue for most people. They're obsessed with their fears. They're obsessed with what they're worried about.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with what other people think about them. They're obsessed with all of these things, and you end up possessing these things.
You said earlier, and I fully believe that we are so much more capable.
Yes.
Than we even know. There's so much. There's even in you. I mean, you've been uber successful in your life, and man, you're just starting to scratch. Like there's so much left, and my wife too, and me, like people, we're doing well, and a lot of people are doing well, but we are so much more, and it just fires me up and lights me up to even think, like, just ripping that open. What does that even look like today? Even that thought, like, think bigger. My wife is great at this. She challenged me at this. She thinks so big. And sometimes I'm like, that's not even, you want you want a spaceship with a hot tub and a yard? Like, I don't know what you want to eat. Like, I don't even know where we're going here. Come back to earth a little bit.
So good.
But like, we think big like that.
Elon Musk and I, we get it.
It's awesome, though.
Just because it's going to pull you higher, and you need to get, like, you are. I just believe, man, that people are life can be so much better. You're so much more capable. Just sink your energy and your time, your intensity, your passion into it. Everything else is a distraction.
Dude, you're firing me the heck up right now.
Fun.
I'm serious. And by the way, and like,
Do you just want to move though?
yeah, I kind of want to like punch, slap, go do something big with you right now.
I know.
But like, but what's interesting about that, just and I'm gonna let Jules wrap things up on that. But like, I just want to tell you all this too. Like, watch what we're doing to each other here. The other thing I want you to see,
amping each other
right,
up.
is I want you to find mentors and friends who could stretch and move and motivate you, not just always validate you, not just always make you laugh. Hey, bro, good to see you. I have tons of friends like that. People say, oh, drop your friends. No, you don't have to drop any friend in your life. But you got to add people who stretch you and push you and get you to visualize and inspire you, right? Like, that's part of the formula. If you don't have them, you got to do it yourself for now, but still be seeking out those people. So,
well, and they, you know, people always say that, like with like celebrities, oh, people are always being the yes man, but we have yes men in our personal lives too. So like,
Yes.
that is exactly
Isn't that
what
so
you said,
true?
you
So
know, and
true.
it's like, it's not just celebrities, it's everybody. Like, we have yes men all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, stop validating me, tell me what to do. Like, just actually like, call me out.
there should be some friends you have where like you got to clean up the house before they come over, man. Like, you should have some people like, hey, there's some still people you want to have your A game for in your life, right? So this is unreal. I'm just telling you straight up. Like, I'm like, this is unreal. I feel so blessed. But I want to finish with you. So it's hard to add to any of this.
I know it is.
You know,
It's
but
great.
you've had all this experience. You've traveled the world. You had this amazingly unique childhood. You've attracted this dream man. You've had all these achievements, and you're remaking yourself again, which I admire so much. And in 5 more years, you'll be remaking again. I know that. But what advice would you give to, maybe it's a woman, I don't know, that's listening to this and says, hey, I want something special in my life. What would you say that maybe we haven't added yet? What would you add to it? Is there something?
I mean, the first thing that just popped in when you were talking just now was that it is about reinventing yourself all the time and continuing to grow. I think, you know, a lot of people are like, you've changed, and your response should be like, thank you. You know, and it's like, you know, and it's amazing that, you know, we tell ourselves our stories of who we are, but that's who we were. Like, we're continuing growing and like becoming the people that we're building, you know, and like as we become the person that we're becoming and the achievements and the things that we want, it's not about what we want, it's about who we want to be when we have all of this. And so I think at the end of the day, like, it always comes back to us, and it's like what is it, like not what is it that I want to be, but who is it that I want to be. And I said it, I think at the very beginning when we were talking about how we met, what you put out into the universe is what you're going to get. And if you're putting negative thoughts, if you're saying like, I don't know how to do this, I can't do that, instead of like visualizing, putting your goals, like do a 1 year, do a 3 year, do a 5 year, do a 10 year, do a like 1 month, and do small achievable goals so that you can actually attain them and celebrate them and realize like, I have the power to do these things. And then you get this confidence of who you are, and then things just start happening. Like, it's an amazing thing, whether it's God, the universe, whatever you believe, your own innate willpower, whatever you put out, you're gonna get. And so, like, put out some good shit, guys. You know?
Jules, you're so right. Like, you said something else there I just want to layer on. Like, I'm just moved. I just gonna be honest, that's so damn good. But you also said earlier, you said something, you said, I'm enough. At one point, you're enough. It's like you have to accept right now you have everything within you need to go win. You're all you need to be right now to go win. you're getting better to prepare you for the next moment and the next moment, right?
And one of my sorry, I cut you off. One of my favorite analogies and visualizations of this is if your cup is full and somebody's pouring into it all this information and like more, like, you know, I can help you with this, and it's just overflowing. You're like, I can't deal with this. This is too much. It's too much. It's too much. You sometimes just have to pour it out, and then you can start filling up again. You know, it's like you know what you know right now, and that's great, and that's going to get you to that next step. But once you're there, pour that damn cup out and start over, you know? And it's like all this new information comes in, and then you're able to actually download it and receive it.
So good. Were you going to say something on that?
Sorry, I get excited.
We do a lot of like creative planning stuff in our garage, and it was actually, we were talking about this the other day because we're trying to. She was helping me with the next stage of my life, my reinvention, and something we put up on the board. Her brother Derek was also helping, and we put up on the board, what do we want to do, and who do we need to become to do it? And it's exactly what she's talking about is, and we talked about have your vision, what you want to do. Okay, that's great. And then who do I need to become to do this? And I tell her this all the time. We work on this. I tell her this. I'm building a man that's better than I am right now. So I'm not yet this man, but I have a vision, a concept of who he is. And she'll say, like, there'll be some mornings I'll wake up at 5 or 5:30, go work out, or 6 or whatever. She's like, oh, babe, it's early. I'm like, yeah, but I'm building this man that's capable of more. When we have kids, he needs to work out before we have kids. So we don't have kids yet, but this man needs to be capable of that stuff before we're even there. So I always work towards this far distant man that's better than I am. And I acknowledge he's better than I am, but I aspire to be like him and gradually just moving that needle every day. And some days I fail, some days I take a step back.
Oh my gosh. I want to kiss you right now.
We can kiss, buddy.
No, I'm serious.
Are we all just best friends right now?
No, it's like I just want to say something, like, it's so good. So I talk all the time that I think at the end of my life, I'm a Christian, I believe that I want the Lord to go, hey, well done, good and faithful servant. But I also think he's going to go, hey man, this is the man you could have been. I want you to meet the man you are capable of becoming. At the end of your life, I think you met the person you were destined to be. And my life is chasing down that dude. Every decision I make, I'm trying to chase that dude down. So at the end of my life, when I meet him, he shakes my hand and says, hey man, I've been watching you. Great job. And we're identical twins. The worst end of a life would be to go to the end and you meet that woman and you're total strangers. And she had experiences and memories and contributions and differences.
That's great.
That's a great visual.
Right.
Yeah.
So my barometer is chasing down that person. Exactly what you said. You're trying to build that better man, build that better woman.
And it's the blissful dissatisfaction.
Correct.
It's the same thing. You're happy, you're not satisfied.
Right.
You're still you love your life. You look at the life you live, and your family. Like you have a fantastic life, but still, it's not that it's not enough. It's just not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. I'm enough, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
This today was just mind blowing for me. Just to be honest with you, it's mind blowing because it gave us a peek into both of your lives. Also, you know, things to get from one level to the next, but also for elite performers, how to separate a little bit too. And so I think you're both wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm so blown away. Like I'm just literally, here's what's really good. There's no editing. I want to thank both of you for today so much. And
thank you.
We could go forever, man.
we could.
I
know
had
it's gonna
like
happen.
another thought, and I'm like, well, I'll tell you off camera.
But I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, have them back. And so we need to do that again. Or maybe you'll have me on your show when that show comes out. So, and we'll talk some more. So I want to also thank the audience because you've been so good to us. And I bring you some of the most, I mean, you people who have maxed out their lives in different areas and are chasing the maxed out version of themselves. And obviously, these two are an absolute example of that. And all I ask is, you already know how to follow me because you're watching this, but I'd ask you, if you're watching this on YouTube, give it a like or a thumbs up. But if it's on iTunes, throw that thing a review. We were #1 in the world last month, #2 this month.
Get to #1. I texted you this morning.
You told me this morning we're getting to #1. So we're dependent on you to do that, everybody.
We need you.
And don't forget the Max Out 2-minute drill on Instagram every day. When I make a post, everybody who makes a post with a hashtag Max Out within the first 2 minutes, you enter a drawing. We pick a winner every day. You can win gear, coaching call with me, visit to my home, and sometimes access to one of my guests in a coaching call too. So you want to make sure you're making those posts every day. God bless you.
I'll be one of those for your winners.
He just offered, so you can get access to Brooks. Wow, that's huge, brother. So make your post. Thank you for that. Thank you for today. God bless and Max out.